Hi, guys. Thank you so much for being here to another episode of Natural Fertility with Dr. Jane. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Dr. Stephanie Rimka. Thank you so much for being here. I loved your self. I still get goosebumps thinking about it. And I think that's the presentation where I had to walk away and get outside for a walk because it was so touching and so moving. So thank you for being here. Tell everybody who you are.
My
For those of
pleasure.
you, they don't know who you are.
Yeah, and a lot of people probably wouldn't because I'm not known for fertility. I joked with a friend when I sent a text, and I've been on quite a few fertility podcasts in the last few years, and I'm like, I'm not real sure why they think I can do this. I mean, do I just ooze fertility or something? I'm not, like it's not my specialty, even though I have helped many, many couples get pregnant that couldn't. And it's not that I'm so magical, it's just I maybe can hear things that maybe their other clinicians are not attuned to. So it does make sense. So the speech you saw to functional doctors was a little bit off to the side because it was a very emotional, although I'm a trauma specialist, ultimately have a diverse background, started in a mental hospital with schizophrenics. I became a chiropractor. I'm board certified in neurofeedback. I specialize in electromagnetic medicines and peptide therapy for people with autism, ADHD, schizophrenia, bipolar, borderline personality disorder, things like that, dissociative identity, um, alcoholics, drug addicts. I like the people that society has thrown away and given up on. Um,
Did you
you
know
know,
you were going to end up in that space?
everybody expected me to go into sports medicine because I was a good athlete. I was a college athlete. It seemed like it would make sense. I
Sure.
should work with a pro team or something.
It's funny, I thought that was for myself as well, that I was gonna be a physiotherapist and I was gonna work with athletes.
Yeah, orthopedic surgeon was where the track seemed to had make sense, but I just kept taking all these psychology courses every single semester, and ultimately my college was a small private liberal arts school, pushed out the most physicians in the state of Michigan, where I'm from, best biology in the state, and we didn't do minors. But if I had been at a state school, I would have been a psychology minor. I would have been a triple major, and I just kept taking them, and so my psychology one of my professors pulled me aside. He's like, "So, the only thing that's keeping you from being a major is the statistics class." I'm like, "Well, I don't wanna take a math class." He's like, "But if you did and did that, you could act." I'm like, "I don't need to add another. I don't need this. I don't need another diploma. I just love it." And so he's like, "Well, why do you keep doing it?" I just think the nature of my family, my father, my my mom and dad were married. My father robbed a bank. My mom was pregnant with me. So there's
Mhm.
very significant that my father went to prison when I was in the womb. And I'm the youngest of four children. And so obviously I'm feeling everything that she went through at that time. She's a very strong woman, but I can only imagine the fear. She had three children under seven and then pregnant with her fourth. And her husband makes a very bad decision to rob a bank with his brother. My uncles had already robbed multiple banks. They were a bank robbing gang. And my dad was, kind of jealous of that. And so he wanted to get in on the game. Not real bright,
Mhm.
so life was very disheveled. So I grew up going to prisons my whole life, visiting my father, and, you just kind of different things happen because of that. I grew up in a very poor, rough neighborhood. My mother had to bartend. I had to sit in bars my whole life, playing pool, watching how she was being treated. Um, Led to some just poor decisions by my brothers that it was very hard to have your father in prison. No, no, no joke. It's not the easiest thing for other kids and families to accept about you. We were kind of the untouchables in many ways. I'm
Mhm.
black, white, and Indian. That's again very untouchable. You're the other for every category, So I was kind of always that. Um, and my brothers ended up one became a drug addict on crack cocaine, spent 15 years in prison. Another one, an alcoholic, multiple DUIs, a year in jail for that. So life was very rough. I had drug dealers coming in the house at me at 12 years old. I had guns pointed in my face multiple times as a child. I had to carry a gun to go play baseball by the time I was 12 years old. So this was just the nature of Detroit and how I grew up.
Mhm.
It made total sense then. I kinda was on a mission. I wanted to save my family, get my father out of prison, so thought I was gonna be an attorney, but he hates them so much, then you can't become an attorney because daddy won't love you anymore, right? So It was, I think, ultimately, I was trying to do this to help people in prison, to help my father. But then that became very hard to figure out. So I realized I could help the kids. If I could get to the kids that were like my brother, who were dyslexic, couldn't read, failing, but nobody knew this, had severe anxiety, which is what led him to drugs because he had such a severe anxiety disorder and obsessive compulsive. But nobody knew what this was in 1978, 1980. He had already failed grades and he already had the lowest self esteem on earth because he thought he was stupid. So
Totally.
what do I do now? I reverse dyslexia. I reverse ADHD. I reverse anxiety. I want to get to those kids so they never feel they need to do that. I want to keep them out of prison. So that's how I ended up here.
That's yeah, it all makes sense. Like, I always just try like, how did this person get here, and how did they get so good at connecting to a certain type of person? And it's really, I think, comes down to understanding that person really, really well. And so if you grew up seeing that, then it's it just fits.
Yeah. The first
And
time I had a gun put on me, actually, I was 9 months old and it was by my own grandmother.
hmm,
So she was going to kill my mother and all of us because she thought my mother, very religious. She was drunk with a gun. So my grandmother was definitely mentally ill as well. And I just grew up with this as like somewhat of the normal,
hmm,
I didn't really, so I understand that
totally
there,
normal.
yeah, she was like, so who in the family had a personality disorder? I said, what? She goes, you had to grow up with it because you would never be this good with it. Like you are extraordinary at this. Like you just
Yes.
know. I'm like, and so most likely my grandmother,
Mhm.
it was rough, but she just was convinced my mother must have been a whore or a prostitute. Like she thought she must be running. Oh, this is a whorehouse, and these children, this is Satan. The devil has come into this home, and somehow my mother talked all of us getting out of that house and talked her down and got that gun. And was able to eventually maintain a relationship and took care of her mother when she died. Like, that's my mother too. Like, she can handle it
Mhm.
despite that.
That's a
So,
strong woman.
you're very strong.
Yeah. When did you turn because I love what you said, I think it's for me, the addiction stuff didn't I always looked down on it as, it's like, "Oh, there's something wrong," or, like, "They're lazy," or they're in the mental disease or even just, like, when I moved to Vancouver, BC for my schooling, and I saw so much homelessness. This is the first time where I'm like, I need to understand this. And then I started to stumble more on Gaber Mate's work. And this is when it was like, oh, this is so much deeper than just judging this person who essentially took one wrong step or, you know what I mean? Like they fell into the bad crowd. When did your perception change? Or maybe it was always that, like, hey, this person is actually struggling and that's why they have the addiction, as opposed to they're bad, is how most of society sees it.
I think whether I was born with it, I don't know, but certainly my mother cultivated it and cultured it because she never spoke ill of our father. He's a
Mm,
good man, he made a mistake. And I
yep.
went to prison,
Ugh,
literally
that's
visited
huge.
federal prisons my whole life, and we visited, and it was just that's how it was, and then many times my father would have a friend. I mean, that's what I Duke was a very common one, and so you're allowed so many visitors, so we would split our visit, so she would be her and 4 kids, and one of us would visit Duke, so Duke could come out of the cell and he could get a break and he could have a visitor. So we even visited my dad's friends at the same time. So she was even taking care of his friends. And even after my mother divorced him, when he was out for 9 months, he got parole and he broke it. 9 short months in the 4th grade. And then she divorced him. She finally had to move on with her life. But every time she had to still take us back all the time. You can't go to prison to visit your dad at 10. Like you can't go alone. You have to have your mother. She would put her wedding ring back on every single time. In
Mm,
that visiting room, the sign was his wife is here
mm,
to make sure he still looked good. So she understood this very well and we were just raised with like you don't look down on anybody. Like everybody could
yep,
make a mistake and that doesn't mean they're a bad person. You don't throw people away. It's just not the nature of how I was
yep.
raised.
God, the value. That's amazing. Your mom is sounds like an incredible woman.
Very much so.
Yeah. So now that you're how many years have you been in practice?
25.
25. My And you look 25, so how does that I mean, honestly, though, so many like, your skin is radiant, and when you're like, I don't even how old did you say you I remember on stage?
52.
52. How? Is it just the peptides? Is it just the natural medicine and
Um,
all of the things?
well, I think it's several things. So one, I think it's nutrient density, and I consider everything nutrients. Sunlight is a nutrient, grounding is a nutrient, music is a nutrient, orgasms are the greatest nutrient for a woman that ever been created. So I eat a lot of steak, I eat a lot of oysters. It's about it. And I sleep well. Sleep is a nutrient, but love and touch and pleasure, movement, those are nutrients. So I work really hard to fill my cup up with nutrition. And I work really hard to let my soul be the voice that is speaking. So authenticity to me is an alignment with soul's purpose. And that's where I've chosen to like claim my stake since I was probably 3 years old. So every
Oh.
time I feel I'm off center, I try to come back. And authenticity, I think, is what people being inauthentic is very energy draining and losing energy. Life is a game of energy. There's the only difference between a living body and a cadaver is the flow of energy. You got the same organs, the same DNA, the same metabolites, even. It's exactly the same. What's missing? One, this flows energy, this does not. And as you watch someone's life force go down, you're watching the flow of energy get slower and the amount gets slower. So lower. And I think living a very inauthentic life and not letting the soul lead is very energy costly, basically. And so I'm not trying to lose that energy.
It's well, I mean, it shows obviously, and I love that you brought the energy concept because in the fertility space, that's a lot of the times when I see my women or even my men, and they're so depleted, they're so tired, and you think about everything that's involved in making a baby and how much energy, and you're literally giving part of your essence. That's part of the work that I have to do is to help people bring that energy up. When did you get into the soul? Like, I love the results when I was able to get better results for my patients, if you will, it's not when I just looked at the physical, but it's the mental, emotional, spiritual. When did you say you were like 3 years old when you realized? Did I hear that right? Like, when did you start
Yeah.
looking at the soul as a
Yeah.
main component of this is a person sitting in front of me and I need to help them get in touch with their soul? Because most people don't even know what it means to be inauthentic because they've never had the experience, or as an example.
Oh, okay. I mean, I knew it probably two. Two is my first memory is when we got our cat. And I remember the whole experience of the man. How I remember everything about it. And I remember I actually had a lot of rage because he
Mm,
had the cats in the trunk. And I was
mm.
like, why would you do that? I mean, I was very angry at the whole situation, how that was cruel and it's unfair and the cats can't see. And I was like, the whole thing. My mom was like, calm it down.
You're 2 years old. Put
I'm
the
ready to kill
tires
this
when you're
cat.
young.
I'm gonna kill everybody. So, very young, I was like protecting and defending and just rescuing and doing that was just kind of how it was. And at 3, I taught myself to read at 3. I could read at 3, and so when I was reading the newspaper, and I saw what the word philanthropist was, and I asked my mom, "What does that mean?" And she described it. I said, "That's what I'm gonna be when I grow up." And my brothers laughed at me and said, They're really rich." And I said, "Well, then I'll go get some money. You're telling me this because I know we're on
Figure it
welfare.
out.
I don't really know what you're telling me. I don't really care." Right. But it was so that concept of knowing what I felt for that cat who I had for 20 years and how angry I was at him and you didn't treat them right and thought I had to educate him on what he was doing. Like, this is so cruel. Cats in a trunk, 1975. And philanthropist. So like it was the natural thing of the kind of, I don't
Mhm,
know, just that way and everything else just made sense. I didn't necessarily know it was soul speaking. You know what I mean? It wasn't until I got older and I could put words. So I'm like, oh, that's what this means. And there's just a lot of things that I would see or know. I thought everybody knew,
mhm.
but it turns out they didn't. I just thought we
No.
were talking about it, you
Mm-mm.
know? And I was like, oh. So there's some things I knew, but at 23 or 24, when I was in grad school, was seeing a therapist and getting training. She was teaching me. I was going through a personal development course, kind of like a Tony Robbins kind of thing. I was becoming an instructor, and she was teaching me this. how to do this very Adlerian, Gestalt, Jungian, and we would do rebirthing and breath work and stuff. So I was going to Austin every month, and it was a 2-year training program. So she was coaching me and teaching me. Well, um, she's like the greatest therapist in Atlanta, but she got rid of her license. So she really was just an intuitive empath. She didn't call herself that, but I was like, she's just magic. You need to go see her, right? So she's the one who pointed out to me what I was doing. Like, you don't know what she's like, you're like me. I said, no, I'm not. And she's like, oh, yeah, you are. You
Mhm.
just don't know it yet. And
Yep.
she goes, you can't tell self from other. And that's why you're always sick and hurting. So I was getting very physically sick all the time and always in pain and always suffering and broken back and bone discs and like, oh, it's just always a mess. And she finally was the one to say, because you're feeling everybody else's pain and energy and you can't tell the difference because you don't know yourself yet.
Mm.
And I was like, what? She's like, the most important thing for you. She's, I will make it because she ended up with cancer. She's like, I will not let this happen to you. Because she was already like 50. She was my age. So I'm looking back, I'm like, wow, she was teaching me at this age. And she was, you have to learn to know yourself. And you're afraid to know who you are. And
Mm.
so she took me through learning to know thyself. And so that was the greatest gift in understanding that. And so that's really what I teach people. If you can't tell self from other, you're really going to struggle. And it goes into parenting and developing children. It's the beauty of making a baby and how that baby is one with you. And it's not supposed to know. It's like it is the same as you, right? This whole time. And they can't tell. So, like, there's no difference from you and that little till 3, 4, 5, till like 7 years old. So I tell I'm like, listen, if mama ain't right, ain't nobody right. And we got to keep you regulated. We got to keep that nervous system right. You must take
Mm.
care of yourself or you are abandoning that child because he or she feels everything before you're even aware of it. So
Yes.
oftentimes people bring me this kid and they say something's wrong. I'm like, ain't nothing wrong with him. The problem is right there. You're the one I need to help. And they're like, really? I'm like, the dogs, the pets, and the babies in the house are going to tell you everything that's going on. Everything that's going on, I'm going to know.
Lady Dog's really she's like, "I have a histamine tumor. He has parasites." And I'm like, "That's because you have all
No,
these."
it's because of you, mama. We got to deal with you. And usually, many times, I'll stop and say, I'm not going to see the kid because I need to see you. And all of that will actually go, not that mom is causing it, but it's like your energy and frequency is being absorbed by them. They're just little walking sponges, empathic beings. And especially those first few years, there really is no difference that a 2, 3 year old, like, it is connected to mother and their cells are inside our bodies and brains. They exchanged them with us and we are them. We made them. So I'm like, it's just how it is. So, my son felt everything I was feeling and he was developed that way. And
Just like you felt everything that you were feeling with your mom
right,
in the womb. Yeah.
exactly.
Do you, microchimerism, is that the right term where the baby cells stay
Forget
inside?
yes, but yeah, when I found that out, it just made such sense, and it was such a beautiful permission point because once I became a mother, there were things I could not tolerate anymore. Like, I used to make fun of my sister, she's 8 years older than me, that we would watch a movie, and, "I can't see that," and she could literally stop. It was a story about a child being kidnapped or something. She was, like, not having it. "Turn it off!" And I was like, "Dude, you're just too." I'm the same way now, and it really does change the system because that level of seeing, recognizing, understanding, it's when you say like your child, it's like your own heart is walking around exposed. You're like, oh God, this is my own organs right there for people to touch and like, don't touch it.
It's so
You know,
hard.
what is happening? And now it makes total sense because you're so connected to not only that those children, but I think it just really changes the way you see all children. Like it's just such a different level of sensitivity and
Mhm.
connectedness.
Yep.
And there's a big, powerful healing component when I understood what that was and how my son, I was on bed rest for 8.5 months. It was a super high risk pregnancy. I had to have 3 high risk OBs and a neurologist on site for the birth. It was not expect. I was hemorrhaging for weeks. It was
Yeah.
awful. So when I look at that, what happened though, and how he healed me, it was extraordinary. I tell him like, some of those problems I ever had, I go, it was his stem cells, him coming into me, offering that gift of life back to me. What an incredible exchange, you
Mhm.
know, how we fueled each other.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, it explains the concept of like, you just know when something is wrong with your kid, even though they're not anywhere close to you.
Yes. It's
It
why the
just
mother
explains.
can walk in. It's why I would tell the husband, I'm like, stop being mad at your husband. He is not supposed to know. I would come home and Peter,
They
I,
have no idea.
and I would see Bennett from across. I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong with him? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, he has a fever. What is wrong with you? He is not. I could literally see. And I'm like, do not touch him. This is not okay. Like
And the
he's
husband
so
is just reading
frail.
a book or scrolling
And
the
he's
phone
literally
next
like
to
just been
him.
throwing him around the couch or whatever. Yeah, but you can see it. The men
Mhm,
can't see that. Daddies aren't built for that. They don't
mhm.
have the cells inside. It is different. They were never one being, you know? They have a supportive role until a certain time, really. It's like you're not that necessary. I'm like, you better carry my stuff, protect me, get me some food, and go away. You know what I mean? Like, sorry.
Support me in my crazy things and dreams and that I wanna do and just be my rock, but you're
Yeah,
not gonna have that
that's
connection.
not how it actually works in nature, and you can think it's different all you want, but
Mhm.
I have to make milk and feed the baby and do all the things. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your job is to get me food.
Your job is to get me food, I love that.
Keep me
Yeah,
warm and get me food. Make a fire, get me food. I don't know what else.
well, I mean, the brain changes so much for the women during the pregnancy. The brain will change for the men if they let, and that's something that I remember reading in the study. It's like if the man allows it, he has to lean into the change because there's for sure men that don't get changed by the pregnancy and they kind of resist it. And I remember with my first, I really resisted the change into motherhood. I was like, nothing is going to change. I'm going to be the same, and I'm going to have. It's like, what are you talking about? Literally
Everything
everything
changes.
changes.
It's
Literally
everything
everything
changes.
changes. Nothing that mattered before matters at
No,
all.
you have to grieve the old what women don't do, and I realize, like, many of them, they try to cling to the old identity. I'm like,
Yes, yeah.
"Hey, you are not the same person.
Mhm,
She is gone. If
mhm.
you need to grieve her, grieve
That's
her."
postpartum depression, right?
Yeah. Like, well, there's
For
some
some.
real chemical issues with that's copper and stuff like that, but
Yes.
it's just people trying to act like they're like this, like, "Yeah, it's just a thing." I'm like, "No, like, the childless Stephanie, she done. She
Mhm.
can't just go to Whole Foods when she feels like it. She can't hang out in Barnes& Noble for 4 hours. She just can't, like, there's a lot of things you can't do anymore.
Yep.
She's done. Let it
Like make
go."
dinner, but
Yeah, like, that's
undisrupted.
not happening. Good luck sleeping. You're not doing that for a few years. Like, just accept it. So I found out people like, I just surrendered to all of it and was very happy with it.
Mhm,
Like, I had 2 practices and I was renovating 2 I lost it all. I had to close everything. I couldn't work. Like, okay, well, put it and start sell it. I just sold, get rid of the convertible. It's all gone. And if I would have been all sad about it, would have been all depressed. I'm like, well, it's just changing. And I just was like, she's done. Now the mother, Stephanie, is being birthed. So this is a new identity and it's a new time. Like the teenager is gone too. Like, let it go, you
mhm.
know, right?
Why do you think we hang on to the identities? Why do you think it's hard? Because sometimes I'll meet people where they are genuinely still stuck in the teenage years or in the early 20s or whatever. Why do you think we hang on?
Yeah. Well, you often it's nervous system dysregulation, and if there's ever been a psychiatric drug put into place at those times, you will be emotional. You will be stunted and held at that place as soon as the psychiatric drug was put on. So I have many people who started like an SSRI at 17 and they're 30. I don't care that they've been through 7 or 8. We are still going to be stunted.
Mm,
So a big part of what I do is getting people off of those things, and then I have to grow them up. And you are neurologically blunted at that point. You will not have normal development.
and
So
birth control, like, not to mention even birth
birth
control,
control is complete
huge.
alteration, right? So you have the synthetic hormone derangement that's going on, absolutely changing who you're attracted to, who you find, it just ruins everything. You're going to make bad choices, most likely. And that's an unfortunate thing because you literally will pick the wrong person for you because your senses, your sensation, the sense of sight and smell in particular will let you know who you're supposed to be with. And many women, other things you deal with this, I'm always shocked how women will have like deal with all these vaginal problems, infections and problems and inflammation. And they'll just keep trying to move on. And I'm like, that's a sign you're not supposed to be with him. What part of this do you not understand? Like the chemistry, your body's repelling this guy.
Yeah.
Like your body's trying to tell you, please keep him away.
Every time I have sex, I get a yeast infection.
Yeah. Like, well, then I've never had a yeast infection in my life. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I'm like,
Yep.
guys need it. Like these are signals, but women are so conditioned for so many reasons to override their soul speaking to them, their intuition, which is an absolute travesty because the masculine and the feminine are not the same. And we all have both of them in us, of course, but obviously I'm a woman, so I'm more feminine. And what is the greatest attribute? If I have one word that would define the feminine power, it is intuition.
Mm,
If I have one word that's gonna describe the masculine power, I'm gonna say intellect. So, intuition is listening and receiving,
mhm,
and intellect is action and doing, right? And many women have completely screwed this up. And this is part of why I think a big part of why the infertility epidemic, we can talk about hormones, mitochondrial health, deuterium, microplastics, makeup, Botox. I mean, we can go into all of this stuff, but it comes down to, I think so many women have forgotten her greatest superpower is receiving.
mhm,
And you are not supposed to be the giver and the doer. You are not that person. That is the masculine's job.
mhm.
And we've gotten it all screwed up.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of one of my patients where she's like, "I think I stepped into the feminism thing a little bit too hard because we went from this like women used to stay at home and just have families, and that was
First of all, see right there, not just. The women used to have
yes,
families and take
yes,
care of that in and of itself is fantastic. That's
that's
enough.
it.
Yes.
And then now, it's like you have to have the career, you have to have, the 2 incomes to support because of the inflation and all this other stuff. And then it's just the pressure of like, well, if I'm just staying at home, then I'm not worthy or I'm not contributing enough. And,
Yeah,
it's like,
accepted too much
when did that
masculine
start,
roles. It's the masculinization of the feminine. You have too many masculinized women wondering why. My mom once joked, she's like, "What is going on with you guys?" She's like, "A man would walk in the room and somebody would get pregnant. Y'all have to spend 50 grand going to clinics now? What is the deal?" I
What
was
is
like, "There's a lot of things, mommy," but, you know, overall, I think the overall emotional arc is the masculinization of the feminine. I was very masculinized. I get it. I had to decondition myself over the last several years to be comfortable with being feminine. We are taught that is weak. It
Mhm.
is not enough. It is not good. Everybody wants, and then I had to finally, it's like a compliment to be called a baller and a badass and a boss bitch. Now I tell them, like, stop calling me that. I reject all of it. Please. You are not complimenting me. I don't want
Mhm.
to be seen that
I'm
way.
offended.
Yeah, I built that image, but I needed to. I grew up in a very har I don't regret what I needed to do to survive, you know?
Mhm.
I took on what I needed to do. If I didn't do that, I woulda had to stay in my house. So I had to fight, I had to do things, I had to be very masculine to survive some tough situations. Um, and I'm good with that, but I took it really extreme is that that's my value. And I didn't know how to let someone give to me. I didn't know how to receive. I had to teach myself by giving to myself first. And then, so therefore, I could teach the world this is how I deserve to be treated. Right.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so that then, you know, and I'm still learning, it's been
Every
a
day.
like, overall, that's what I think most women and men are getting wrong. Like
Mhm.
he is the giver. He is he gives, and every pack, right? So all mammals, so we're part of the mammal, right? So let's look at a wolf pack. We're the same. So people, they mate for life. Every pack has two alphas, a male and a female. And I didn't really understand this. It was something I learned the last few years. I was always thinking it's one. It's like, no, a pack will never survive. If there's an alpha male, the beta males will rise up to kill him. Like that's the whole point. It's the alpha female that is keeping everything in check, actually. She is
Mm.
actually controlling everything. And let's say he does die in a fight, doing something or off a cliff. How the next alpha male is chosen, the alpha female subdues, physically takes down a beta. She picks him.
Mm.
And by her taking him down, there's an alteration of his chemistry. The United States military has completely tracked this. They know exactly what happens with dopamine and they know the alpha, beta, omega. They know every rank and every composition of serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine. They understand it all because the exact same thing happens in an elite team, in the Navy SEALs and a Ranger. The same thing
That's
happens.
amazing.
They have the exact same chemistry. So they studied the packs to see what happened. And in that pack, it is always, well, and pick any species, any mammal. The alpha female is making all the decisions of, do we stay? Do we go? Do we hunt? Do we eat? Whatever it is, he looks to her and says, what should we do? She says, we're going to go left. He takes the lead. Got it. He is obedient to the intuition and connectedness of the female's connection to source, her soul connection to spirit. He enforces all of it. He is the leader, but he looks to her to go what to
He
do.
executes.
He executes all of it, right?
Mhm.
She has his back, you
Mhm.
know, and she's controlling all of them. Like, you better watch them. You know what I mean? Like that. And it's the same in any incredible marriage. When you think about it, how it was back in the day, I remember you would see it. It's like this. It's like mom is here. Let's say dad walks in the door and she's had her day with the 3 kids. And she just goes, says, listen, that guy next door talked to Billy the wrong way. It goes, and he doesn't need to hear a story. He knew, like, all she has to say is, I don't like that guy. He just gets up and kicks his ass. Like, he doesn't need to ask her for 47 questions. She just goes, get him. He does it.
Mhm.
When you see it, like, they're like, I don't care what it is. She said to do it. Like, she mad at him. I'm mad at him too. Like, you know what I mean? That's what it's like. The women usually in the greatest marriages are making all the money decisions. They deciding kind of where the money's going to go, where we're going to move, where the kids go to school, where the appointments are. She's in charge of everything. And he's just kind of executing in harmony, in community. You know what I mean? Yeah, because she's connected. Now, if she's off and she's not connected to her intuition, she's not connected to source, that's very unstable for him. And if she doesn't let him give to her, he's impotent and powerless. He must give. And women have a very hard time receiving now. So their men feel unwanted and undesired and useless. So they're go off on porn and having affairs and everything else because she
Mhm.
doesn't let him give. That's all he's got. His whole thing is to like, I'm here to serve you.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean, how do you see this dynamic shifting?
I do. I really am fascinated by it seems like the younger generation. Well, there's people like me. There's a lot of us, these feminists, these we've had to be independent because we watched our mothers do it. So that was a generation where the 2 incomes suddenly became required, right? Or whatever. And then all the propaganda came in to where it's like women have to work and you can't trust the man and you don't need him and all that stuff, right? Um, and so you have my generation that's like, I think this is bullshit. I'm tired. Like, this is a lot. Like, this,
Ali Wong has a really
this,
good bit about it. She's like, I want to lay down.
because the world also is designed on a masculine 24-hour testosterone cycle.
Mhm.
It's like this baseline, same old testosterone cycle. We are not like that. I
No,
am a different woman every week of the month. I
every
am
day.
radically different. I'm 4 people. I'm good with that. Like, I'm extra.
Yep.
You are with 4 people. Get used to it. This week I'm gonna be tired. This week I'm horny. This week I'm energy. You know what I mean? I don't want to
Yep.
work out. I do want to work out. Like, that's how it
Yep.
is. I'm not trying to be basic. Like, you want to
Yep.
be. I would say this to Chip all the time. He's like, "Whoa, so you want to be basic? Go date a man. You want to date a man? No. Well, then shut up. Be happy about all of it. I am the wild storm. Your job is to contain me so I don't kill people. That's all you just got to contain it and direct it in a way, but I'm going to be wild. That's
Yes,
just how it
that's
is. But our work schedules, business, appointments, calendars, that's so masculine. We are forcing ourselves to be in some ridiculous container that makes no sense for the feminine energy. I have
Mhm.
so many women come to me, they think they have ADHD. I'm like, honey, you ain't got ADHD. You're a woman. You are not supposed to be. You're supposed to do that because you're supposed to be driven by creativity, beauty, and intuition. And that is supposed to be all over the place. And we're very holistic. We can see 47 things at once. He can do one. That's all he can do. That's his
Yep.
job. Point an arrow, punch, and kill somebody. That's not my job. I got to watch 47 kids while I'm grabbing potatoes. And I got to see
Yeah.
everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So we
totally.
just have totally different brains and totally different systems of the hormonal system. So I see women now are like, this is ridiculous. This goes against my own biology. Yes, it does. And I see the younger generation, like my son, He'll be 20 next month. And these kids are like either extremely digital, anime, fake, like they want to be cartoon characters and I don't
Yeah.
know, put ears on and have weird surgeries, or they're like, we want no makeup, we want homesteading, we want farms, and we want 87 children. Like it's just like fascinating to watch,
Yeah.
like two world. I feel like we're just in like we've had a split and I just get people like, huh. I mean, I'm a everybody I have chickens in my yard now. Like people are getting chickens and they're wanting to buy land and like I
Have a
like all this,
cow. I
yeah,
want to
we
have
just
two cows
wanna
because
get
cows are my
away
best
from it.
friend.
Yeah.
They have
I
best
see it
friends, so like,
changing.
why would I get one? I need two.
Yeah. I do see it. And I just think we have to relearn
Hmm.
um we have to relearn some of the dynamics and bring some balance. It's like how, like I have to work. I don't have a partner to pay my help me, support me. And so like how can I still do my role,
Hmm.
where I have to be masculine at times and I get great value from service and contributing and helping people, and how can I still be wildly embracing my feminine and not have shame for her anymore? Right?
Hmm.
I think it's the shame around some of the feminine things that many of us, had. So it's this interesting mix. I think I'm watching a lot of women my age go through, and I really enjoy watching a lot of the younger. And I see a lot of young men stepping up, like 20s and 30s, who are like, no alcohol, no porn, no, they're like very strict, like that stuff is not what I want to be. And they want to get married and they want to have children. And it's really stunning to watch.
Yep. Yeah, I have sometimes I'm amazed by the I'll have a couple of people who are in their 20s, not a lot, and they're struggling to conceive. Obviously, that's alarming, but it's always inspiring to be like, you're 22 and you want to get pregnant and you've been trying for the last year, like good for you. Versus, the 35, the 37 or the 40-year-old that's been um even just a patient recently, it's like she's literally spent all her time and energy building her career and taking care of her parents, and then it's like, I've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And I'm like, you're 43 years old or you're 45 years old. Like, why haven't we been able to make that happen? It just seems so, and I say that not to shame but it's crazy how we get ingrained with this. I need to build a career. I need to do this. And then you get put on birth control for 20 years or 10 years or 15 years. And that essentially shuts your whole intuition. Your brain changes completely. You go from wanting to be a caretaker and build a family to just hormones are like this all the time. Or maybe they cycle it a little bit for you just to make it seem like the real thing. And I'm glad you brought it up because I'm one of those people. It's like, I love my job. I love my career, but it's definitely, and I also love my children. And it's this constant struggle of like, how do I bring feminine energy into my career and follow my intuition and have some business mentors, but also recognize that if it's a male giving me feedback, I'm going to take that with a grain of salt because I'm not going to run my business the way that you run your business, which is, working 12-hour days or popping nicotine or Adderall or whatever, just so you can keep staying focused and productivity stays up. Um, yeah, it's like it's a new space, to figure it out. And
It is. We're learning, we're figuring it out, and I think the more
Mhm.
conversations we have and we keep talking and sharing with each other, and it's why I do group courses and subscriptions with women and talk about it. I remember, I think it was about 8 years ago. I think we just had the 8-year anniversary of my first course that I ever taught, and I have a whole like arsenal of them now. Showcase and learning center. But that first one, I would let it be men and women. And I learned really quickly, and it was a carnivore course. So it was like a three-prong and eating carnivore way. And I realized it was rest, restore, renew. Those were the three acronyms. And I got really clear really quickly. So it was about 150 women and like 25 guys.
Mhm.
And I was really quick, like, oh, this isn't for the men because you don't need to rest. Like, y'all need to get off your ass. Like, but these ladies need to learn to sit down. Like, y'all are ridiculous. So, like, it started teaching me the radical difference.
Mhm.
I'm like, the problem with all these dysregulated women is they're waking up at 4:30, going to Orange Fitness Theory and CrossFit. I'm like, bruh, stop. Like, this is why you're fat. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't work out. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I'm like, no. I'm like, you need to rest. So I had to deal with, I'm like, and the guys, so I had to coach differently. I was like, oh, I need to change this. So the next time I did it, but it really helped me see the difference. I'm like, no, 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 you don't need to do that. She needs this because women, it is about they need to be still and they need to learn to listen and connect with their bodies. They need to stop dissociating. They need to be embodied again. I need to use sensation and pleasure. I need to regulate the nervous system. We need safety. All women are walking around feeling unsafe all the time, whether they want to admit it or not. Right?
Mhm.
That's why they need the masculine to feel safe, and I don't care if you're in a same sex relationship, you're still looking for the masculine to make you feel safe, right? It's your own
Mhm.
masculine that comes on board to do that, right? So I saw the difference very clearly. I'm like, well, they need a different thing. These guys, I have to get them to move their energy. I need to get them to get into action again. I need them to feel that they have purpose in doing. Like they're the doers. Like, but they
Mhm.
need to be more laser focused. And so it was very radically different. That's kind of what started the journey of me having to understand I'm the same overworking, aggressive, blah, blah, blah. And my patients were reflecting that all back to me. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's but I've been meditating for 30 years, longer actually. So in visualizing since the 6th grade, and I didn't realize like so many people didn't know to do these things. They didn't know how to regulate. So had started to teach them that. And I didn't know that some of these things I was doing were actually feminine superpowers. I just thought, I didn't get so I had to learn and teach it differently. So and it's not to say that men don't have intuition, because they have a feminine as well. But it's okay, it seems so radical today to have to say, "I'm a woman, I'm not a man, and we are not the same." I would never in 1,000 years thought that would be a controversial thing to say, but here we are. And I'm very clear on that, and I say it repeatedly, and so trying to explain that to women who come to me for anything, weight loss, I'm like, "Why are you taking advice from a 27-year-old guy on Instagram trying to do what he's doing? What?"
As a 45 or as a 50 or at 30, any woman really.
Unbelievable. Well,
But
I'm in fasting and I eat 1 meal a day, blah, blah. You're 60? What are you do Stop. And so
yeah.
it's always shocking. I don't know
Yep.
what you have to do with yours. I have
Mhm.
to make all my women eat more. I
Yes.
have to make them stop fasting. I have to make them sleep more. I have to make them stop working out. Like and they get really scared. And then we could be like, I lost 5 pounds. No kidding. Because you're starving. You're starving for food, nutrients, touch,
Wow.
love, attention, affection, time, rest. You know what I mean? Like, no wonder
Mhm.
you have to dissociate and scroll so much. You have to dissociate with wine. You have to dissociate with
Shopping.
shopping. You have to dissociate, right? With all these things, you know, or what I really hate? I don't know if you deal with this, like motorized mechanical sex devices.
Oh,
I'm like, you're ruining yourself. You're numbing yourself out from real receiving and real pleasure. I'm like, your vibrator now is like his porn. How is any man going to compete with what? What?
I see mechanical sex a lot, meaning that it's time, we have to do it, I'm ovulating, let's go.
No, I know
And a lot
infertility,
of
it's a
women
whole
don't
problem.
experience any pleasure with sex, or the men for that matter, because it's been
Job
so.
now. Now it's a
Yeah,
job. That
exactly,
is
yeah.
not how this works.
Mhm.
All life comes from an orgasm. It is the ultimate. And like that for a woman, she has
I
to
mean, there's studies
realize
showing when the woman has an orgasm, not only I mean, if the orgasm happens at the same time, the cervix will actually open and, like, kinda suck the sperm up into the uterus, but then the chemicals that are released around the oxytocin, the dopamine, and the euphoria, and even prolactin, that helps to support the drive of the sperm up into the fallopian tubes and the attraction chemicals, so then fertilization is much more likely to happen.
you can
It's
make it I
it's
can make it
almost like
simpler.
it was intended this way, it was
Yeah,
built.
because the only
Mhm.
way a woman can orgasm is her prefrontal cortex has to completely go men this is not for men, this is how a woman's body is. It must go offline. She must be able to completely lose control, surrender. She only can do that in a case of total surrender, vulnerability, and safety.
Yes.
That is it. And you can only get pregnant if you're that damn safe. You
Yes.
can't get pregnant in famine or war. the
Mhm.
body's going to say this is not good to do. We
It
might
can, but it's not
it
great.
can, but but it takes, it's tough, and it
Yeah.
may take care
And I
of
mean,
that.
we've seen it and we've studied it. Yeah, how many studies of children that were born uh, during Holocaust and I mean all the wars and everything else and the impact that it has generationally. I think that's an argument that I get all the time was like, well, this person is really unhealthy or this person is so and so and they were able to get pregnant. And it's like, yeah, and now they're sitting in front of me or their kids are sitting in front of me, 20 years later, 30 years later. I think if we're looking at it from a generational health standpoint and just like the quality of life. Something I said to one of my patients is like, I don't think we're going to come to a time where we can't have children unintentionally. And I mean that from a place of you have to learn how this thing works because I love what you're saying about safety. Like pregnancy is such a vulnerable state for a woman. And, if you study some of the indigenous cultures and how if you are mad, you're not allowed to go next to a pregnant woman. If you are angry, because that's bad juju. They don't want that around. They want to protect, that baby because it's so influential on her chemistry. And so, if we want to be more intentional with having our babies, so then it's a much deeper experience for us. And with my kids, I watch them. It's like, I didn't do anything for my first one. And I can see all the things that I passed down, and the experience that I have with my second. It's like, don't get me wrong, there's still lots of things that I passed down. And it's not about being perfect, but like, oh, I wish I would have known that, and now I have to help my daughter work through some of those things that I didn't work through before I got pregnant with her. And, maybe
But
that's
what
why
a
she's
gift for
here.
her! What a gift for her, right? I mean,
That's how, yeah, a
there's
lot of forgiveness on my part.
nothing really. There's no great story if everything was if everything was perfect. But I mean, think of any nobody who has inspired anybody was born into a perfect life. What? How? There's no inspirational story there. Nobody cares. Oh, everything's perfect. They were born perfect. Everything's perfectly healthy. They're perfectly rich, perfectly pretty. That yippee!
Yeah,
I'm just
there's
saying,
nothing there. Yeah, that's
you
it.
know,
Yeah, and so it is this and I mean, even for the woman, I know I wanna be conscious of time, but, like, I love your concept about the soul, and one of the things that I'll talk to my patients and some of my patients who've been the most successful when they've been told they'll never have a kid and it's been 8 years or, 5 years or whatever, and it's just been nuts, is they actually connected to the soul of the baby, and they started writing to their babies, and they started to, like because they could feel it and they would be sad every time they got their period because they knew that they were now further away from meeting this baby. And it's the, I don't know if that's really a question, but like I just love your perspective of like, what do you think about calling the soul in, knowing who you are? It, because when a woman doesn't know who she is at all, it's so hard to bring another soul into it because when you are pregnant you do feel like there's an alien inside of you and you're like I don't know what one thing you want this and another day you want that and then you want to divorce your husband between week 17 and 24 because all your methylation markers are or the copper is going through and so you're going crazy, right? Like there's just so much that's going on, but if you have this really strong sense of self and authenticity, then you can hold the space for this other soul to come in or to actually be part of you. And then, like you said, it's 7 years.
yeah, it's a long time before they're like, oh, I'm separate, and that also becomes kind of a grieving moment for that child because it's a weird thing, right? Because we really are all one, and be coming into this avatar physical manifestation experience. So I kind of look at it as like there's a pool of souls that are waiting,
Hmm. Yeah,
and
that's how I look at it too.
choosing, like, they're up there doing their thing, and, like, my son chose me, I did not choose him, um, and I was also told I couldn't get pregnant, so, it is what it is, and you're like, "Oh, okay, well, guess" he's like, we're red, things are happening," right? So, you
They
know
can't tell you what to do.
no, I really can't, like, I think spirit's always gonna override. I do kind of believe in that story, that whole concept. And I've had many experiences that give me information that seems like this is how it is. That seems the information that's been given to me, been shown to me of what I'm supposed to believe in this lifetime. Um, and sometimes those souls are supposed to be here for a very short time. And that miscarriage that is part of the journey of what is supposed to be in the teaching and the healing and what has to happen. So yes, I love that you have them do that because being just knowing, just saying, I just hope these women don't get attached as if what they're doing is going to determine it. Because you're not in control of any of this. That was the greatest lesson I learned from pregnancy and being on 8.5 months bed rest and hemorrhaging for 10 weeks. And like, I don't know. I'm clearly not in charge of anything. And
You're
I
the
just
vessel that gets to bring this.
yeah, like, I'm not really it's a joke that I think I'm in charge of things. Like, this
Mhm,
is
yeah.
hilarious. Like, it was so freeing. I'm like, whatever.
Mhm,
You know, I'm just gonna keep co-creating with spirit and like, this is
yep.
what I want or something better. Like you don't want this. They're like, but I thought I did. No, you don't. Like, I'm gonna
No.
make you go this way. Okay. I just learned to be okay with what is. Like,
Yes.
this is what is. So I love that. I love that just the concept of let me be clear, let me be open. And I'm just trying to become you know, because you are receiving. You have to go into receiving the gift of a soul saying, I want you. I want
Mhm,
to through you. I want to be in this world through you. And that's why I learned my son, like he's here through me, but he's not really mine, even though like I made you and you chose me and you listen, you chose me. So I didn't he was like, I didn't like, yes, you did. So like it or not, this is what you got. So I don't feel bad about any of it. Like
mhm,
did I know he had some developmental and maybe PTSD, anxiety, and sensory vestibular? We didn't move. He didn't move enough for 8.5 months, so I just corrected it. I'm like, well, I know he's going to need sound therapy. I know I'll get him on the violin. I'll fix all that sensory stuff because he didn't get movement like he should have. I had
mhm,
like 30 ultrasounds. Not good. Not good. But I was almost dead. I fell down 2 flights of stairs with him inside of me. Not good, right? But we ain't dead, so it worked out. You know what I mean? So knowing that, like having them do that, incredible. And I would love it if they could consider, though, maybe, not always feeling that grief because it's the soul was deciding and it's not about you. So it's not necessarily anything to me to be sad about per se. Like, okay. And if I needed to be a vessel to have that happen, so be it. I'm pretty sure I had a twin. I had 10 weeks of hemorrhaging vaginally the whole time. And I thought they were twins, and
mm,
so when they said 1 heartbeat, "What are you talking about?" I said, "It's not 2?" I said, "No," and I always thought he was a girl, and I didn't know anything, the sex ahead of time, like, they go, "Boy," I'm like, "What? Well, that's not who I saw. I saw the girl," right? So, I know he has, like, a vestigial twin energy, and he's a Libra, and so it just became, like, people would always call him a girl. I'm like, "Well, he's a boy." I'm sorry. You don't need to be sorry, but I mean, he's
mhm,
pretty, but he is a boy. But he has girl energy because I think he had a twin sister.
mhm. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's lovely. And I think if you're open to it, but please and understanding, some cultures don't think I don't the soul doesn't stick to me and from my understanding and what I've learned and studied with different shamanic practices and pranic healing that I'm trained in and certified in, the soul doesn't really stake claim strong until the end. Like it's near the end. And then like in Bali, they won't put the baby down on the ground. In many cultures, that baby doesn't touch the till a year. They don't consider the soul making permanent claim to that body for a while.
Yep.
Like, it's still deciding, like, do I wanna be here or not? Is this so I think it's really an interesting way, and it just takes pressure off the Western logical, gotta figure it out mind. Like, what if you aren't in control of any of that? Nothing you're doing is going to be the deciding factor. This is another being's journey. It's an energy flow source that needs to come in and do whatever it needs to do. And you're just getting to be a part of built into the quilt of that. And I do think though, however, it's easier if a woman is very embodied and knows her own soul is letting her. Is it easier? Like you talk about like kids and women getting pregnant in the Holocaust. Not everybody in the Holocaust was as stressed out as everybody. Some people lived in gratitude in that situation.
Yep.
You know? I
Yep.
mean, there's not everybody had the same response. People can go to prison and have a very different response. People can be, you know what I mean? Like how they actually feel about the situation is very, very different. So you know what I mean? So there's different ways that the chemistry is completely overridden by the mind.
For sure.
So there's that. So I do think it's a fascinating thing. So somebody who knows who they are, lets their soul lead forward, has gratitude, feels safety in the nervous system. And so let's say there's been some hormone dysregulation from bad choices with the birth control pill, and there's a bunch of microplastics, and they need to be
Sure.
cleaned out, and they need you to clean out their mitochondria, and you need a little bit that woman is gonna get pregnant a whole and she's got the right partner that she really feels safe with, and this isn't an obligation to get pregnant because she's checking something off her list, right? There's a lot of that. I think a lot of people wanna get I'm like, "Do you really wanna be a mother? Maybe
Or
you're
with
not gonna
him? I
them."
always I had that question with one of my patients. I'm like, "Do you wanna have a baby or do you want to have a baby with him? Because those are 2 different things." Because sometimes the
Yes,
woman has this really big drive, "I wanna have a baby," and it's like,
yes,
"But is it with him?" And
right.
then when the question goes and when she does that,
Yeah, I see that
then it's
all the
like,
time.
"Okay."
They don't like
Right.
their husbands.
Yes.
Like, do you not like sex? Or you just not like him? They're like, "Right." I'm like, "It sounds like
Right.
you hate him, actually. I mean, did you
Mhm.
ever like him?" I
Yeah.
mean, there's that's a real
I
thing.
did, but then I got off birth control, and then ever since then, I didn't. Makes
Yeah,
sense, makes
yeah.
sense. I have one last question, if you don't mind, about how do you see the physical body as a reflection of what's going on? Because, I hear it, the connection and the soul and all of that, but in the same breath, like you said, well, you have to learn how to take care of this vessel. And if you're full of microplastics or mold or heavy metals or whatever it is, then it's going to be really hard for you to connect to the soul. I'm curious what your perspective is and even like your approach on how you treat, looking at it, not just the physical, obviously, or just the spiritual, mental, emotional, putting it all together.
I think it's 100% the physical manifestation is 100% connected to a combination. I think for me, the soul comes in with a personality and
Hmm.
it doesn't actually forget everything. Like there's a definite personality to the soul. It's not a blank canvas. And it comes in with things that makes that. And then, but you do have the unconscious mind and unconscious scripts that are given to you from your family that's just imprinted in you by the time you're 2 years old, how you think about men, women, the world, your place in it. Those are gifts from your family. Okay. How you think about money. It's
Gifts or
all
burdens?
yeah. Well, it's
Both.
always a gift. It's an opportunity for you to do something with it or not. You
Yes.
know, I'm
Hmm.
you play the cards you're dealt, and I
Hmm.
can win with any hand I'm dealt. A good
Yeah.
poker player can win with anything.
Yeah.
Okay? That's a choice, right? So those are definitely a combination, and it's your responsibility to still cultivate the soul's personality, the soul's journey, and what those and to uncover those unconscious scripts. As a child, you're at the mercy of everything around you. By the time you're an adult, you have to own that and move on with it. So, and it's there are opportunities for you to uncover the magnificence of who you are. So, I do think the physical body is just an absolute a culmination of those unconscious scripts and what the soul's journey is. Now, there's a very unique, interesting group that, it's been a really fascinating for me. I specialize in autism, right? And vaccine injury. And it's a very, very interesting thing that I've been questioning, for almost 30 years. Like, what does it take for that soul to come in here and agree to that?
Hmm.
To choose an avatar that's going to be so severely damaged that the hardware and the software is altered and damaged and poisoned, and yet the soul is trying to express itself through kind of a broken avatar in many ways. And my job is to do the best I can to get this back so that soul can express itself in a full way. I don't know why we have that. I don't know. I wish I understood. Now I do have quite a few, um, nonverbal kids that I helped talk, lots of those, and then they tell you things, and I have some that only communicate through writing, and they're like savants, and they'll tell you lots of things, so we get insight as to all this and how they are feeling it, but I you cannot convince me anybody is supposed to be in that amount of physical pain that many of them are going through. And that's why they have the behaviors and why they do what they do. I don't feel any child is supposed to be banging their head against a wall to try and combat the severe gastrointestinal pain they're experiencing. Um, so there's a little bit like I think it's the unconscious scripts causing that? Are their souls? No, I don't. But
Hmm.
there's, you know what I mean? Like a
Yep.
thing happened to the child, now we're dealing with this. Um, but there's still an incredible journey not only for that soul, and is that soul here as such an angel to force the people around them to up level themselves, because that really is what I end up seeing is that this family can either take it on and become the most incredible family you've ever seen, or they can wallow in misery and complain and become an alcoholic and get divorced, and you can really see something happen, or you can watch love pour out like you've never seen in human beings before. So there's that general thing, yes, you're all responsible for it, it's all of that, it's medicine, and there's this other group that
We don't
downs
know about yet.
like, and is there any more gentle, loving, happy being than somebody with Down syndrome? You
No.
literally never like, you
Yeah.
just go, "Do they get upset?" Like,
Yeah.
happy? It's the most fascinating, you know what I mean? I don't
Mhm.
know those answers. I am not the person
Totally.
in charge of those things,
Mhm.
and I don't pretend to be, but I do ask a lot of questions, and I do wonder about it.
For sure. Do you have the homeopathic perspective? Young Schulten, when he talks about like the minerals and how he looks at the periodic table. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you dug into that at all?
No, I'm mostly the only things I really care about are hydrogen, because I think that's the God molecule. So I think that's such a divine,
Yeah.
um,
But
the
he talks
powers.
about the soul coming in that first period, like where the hydrogen, that's usually the soul hasn't come in versus at the end when it's left already. And then there's a lot of stuff in the middle. But that's
Don't know about that. No,
yeah, I that's been very fascinating because then I can see where the person is stuck, especially if they're a mineral versus an animal or a plant, where they're stuck so you can help move them along the mineral. And then usually you can see a toxicity that's associated with it. So when someone is lead and they're in the decay and it makes sense, but there's something else that brought them there. Um, Thank you for sharing that insight though. It's beautiful. Do you want to tell people where to find? Do you want to tell them quickly about your book so when they're listening to this podcast, they know where to go?
yeah. So, well, thank you for having me. First of all, it's great. It's so
My
nice
pleasure.
to not talk about like peptides and like most people, I was like ready for like, oh man, we were talking about peptides or bioregulators or deuterium. I'm like, I didn't have
We
to.
could, but it's a 3-hour thing. I see why
Yeah,
Joe Rogan does 3-hour podcasts because
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
I'm just thinking like, what do I think my audience will want to know, but also like
And
what I'm really curious
yeah,
to hear about from you.
it's a pleasure. So clinical stuff that I do, which they probably maybe don't need since they have you. I am drrimka.com. I have a new website that is launching, and that's going to launch my book. And it's going to be more the place where I get to house the more feminine aspect of me, let's say. So it's called Your Soul Beautiful. .com, and I'll make sure you have it. But yes, SOUL, your soul, you are your soul.
Yes.
Um, Beautiful. And that's where the book is going to be. It's called Receive, the Dance of Feminine Power. It'll be out in a couple months. I mean, it'll be very, very, very soon. So if anybody wants to get in the pre-launch list or the wait list, I don't know when the show will be airing, but I'll have the book and there's a soul and course there. So it's kind of lets me finally have a playground for the softer side.
Hmm.
And Dr. Rimka, I can still be clinical and do neurofeedback and peptides. If you need that type of stuff, I'm available. But the other areas where I would love you to go there.
Yeah. Thank you. We actually just, one of my practitioners took on a patient and he has bipolar. And so we always are looking for cause it's like, I know that that's impacting it and I'm going to clean up X, Y, and Z, but I need someone that I know who can handle that and be able to help, whether it's manage the condition, get off the medication, whatever it is, to
Color
really
is easier
understand
than
it.
you think, actually.
Yeah, well, good.
Yeah,
That's
it's
good to know.
yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. Dr. Stephanie Rimka, always a pleasure. We'll see you guys all next week.